Did you see that? He's putting me in chair number 2. I want to sit at the right hand of my father here. So I'll just take the ground.
So you want me to make a chair over there?
We were thinking about getting the stool because it's higher and putting it on that side, and then I would sit on it and look down at you.
Wow.
But then I thought that would put me in chair number 3. So. All right.
I love you too, Scott. I'm going to ask Dave Edwards. He doesn't know about this, but the picture we're going to experience and what we are experiencing. What Jesus did, he only did what he saw the Father do. And then he said what the Father said. It says, sons and daughters, it's going to be a family table today. I do not know exactly how it's going to go, but I'm very okay with it. I know there's 3 things you're going to leave here with. You're going to be able to, wow. One of them is called love. There's going to be a new passion. It's going to be a new fire. And it is the flames of love. You're going to be, your hearts. You're going to be the burning ones. So the very thing that we've heard Scott mention is arise and shine, for your light has come. And it describes how the world around us is going to be. That right in the middle of there's going to be a family. And it's going to be sons and daughters that are the burning ones. And they're on flame and they're on fire. But when you're burning oil of intimacy with your lover. It is just like there in Matthew 25, where you see there was 10 different virgins. And 5 of them, they were wise. They had oil of intimacy on the lamp. So as a result of that, they could be able to burn. They could be able to be light. We see also in the book of Revelation where they have left their first love. Their lampstand, in a sense. So that's one of the things you're going to leave here with today. You're going to leave here and you're going to be able to have these roots that are rooted and grounded in love. And from that intimacy and that oil of intimacy, you're going to experiencing that you're going to be among the burning ones. You're going to burn brightly without burning up. You're going to be part of a fireplace. The fire is not just going to touch you, but you're connected to a fireplace. And God is going to set up other fireplaces that it's connected to. And I'm just going to share a couple of those things that's connected to that. Dave Edwards is going to come up in a couple of minutes. The second thing you're going to leave with here tonight, the wind is going to come in. You're going to experience, some of you are going to experience, there's a fresh wind. And the wind is going to come in and take in that fire. And that is the picture. If you remember in Pentecost, there was tongues on fire resting on them. You remember that? The second thing, there was a wind that came in, like a mighty wind. The wind came into the room and filled the room. The third thing you're going to see was the wine. And some of you had already started to drink, and I saw that it's a... But it is, heaven has this ancient wine. There is these things that is for special occasion. And it has all to do also with how we can smell, taste, feel, how do we be able to. But all of them, and I want you to understand, it's going to gladden your heart. Your heart is going to be gladdened. So one is going to give you the passion. Second of all, it's going to give you the power. And third of all, it's going to give you the pleasure that is found in sonship. Let me say that one more time. The first is going to be, you're going to find this resting place where we both are sitting in chair number 1 together here. In the sofa. So those are the things that we're going to leave with here tonight. But to go there at the family table, I'm going to just bring different ones that's going to do different things that I see is taking place. And then after that, what is taking place, we're going to go into the presence of God. What is happening right now in this atmosphere, you're going to feel it tonight. Heaven, the family of heaven, is totally connected to the family here on earth. There is no closed heaven right now. There is an open heaven. And when you're resting on what is there, you're going to just start to sense the connectiveness. And what is going to happen, I was just at Bridgeway this afternoon, where you're going to sense, whoa. And there's something that Papa got, and this is where Dave Edwards is going to come in and say, he doesn't know this. That this is not something we talk or plan or anything. It's just leaning hearts. But I'm sensing here, and I feel it in my spirit, what he's going to do is he's going to take you back to the beginning. I want you, Dave, I want you to take him back to the beginning. Never happened before. We never said it. The reason I'm saying that, so you don't think this is organized or planned, it's not. It's just what I see my Father do. And it's just coming into it. So what I see here now, what is happening is this connection between heaven and earth. There's something about you that are totally connected, Ephesians 1:4, to the family before the foundation of the world. You were right there, and you were with the Father. And you were there predestined in love with Him in that place. There was a place there. There is totally innocence. There's totally purity. In that place, you're totally loved. And you love yourself the way that Papa God loves you. There's something about you. And that's the real you. That's the truth. That's the real you. And that's what I'm sensing that as part of this meal at the family table you're going to taste from. It is for you to see you the way Papa God sees you. Take you back to the place where you're going to think about you the way He thinks, feel, and then say. I've mentioned that before, but now Dave Edwards is going to come whatever way he's sensing that. And so are you ready to receive? So Father, we just thank you. He is a son, and as a son, whoa, he can see what the Father is doing. So here, whoa. Just let me, for 1 second, just, yeah. Okay, yeah. Whoa, yeah, just no. Whoa, one more, yeah. 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 Just, whoa.
Think about a papa like Leif. Whoa. This is nice. As if he's a papa, and he displays papa. When I look at Leif, I see papa. Wow. Function. Wow. All right. The thing about the beginning is there time in heaven? So for us, the beginning might feel like it's somewhere way far away, disconnected from us. But the reality is that there's no separation. So we're going to do an activation. Who wants to do an activation? Woo! All right. I'm going to take you on a journey to the beginning and show you how we're connected, okay? So everyone take their hand. Look at your hand. Now, if you have a pen, what I want you to do is draw a dot right in the center of your hand. If you don't have a pen, borrow a neighbor's or just use your imagination. When you've got your dot, say, I've got my dot. All right. Whoa. Wait. Some of you, as you look at your hands, you might see some sparklies. It's okay. There's gold in heaven. When heaven starts to come to earth, then the environment and the landscape begins to change, and earth begins to look like heaven, right? So take a good look at that dot. Now, what I want you to do is close your eyes. We're going to activate our imagination. So I want you to think about where you're seated right now. Now we're going to go on a journey. So I want you to imagine all of a sudden you're above your body and you're looking down at where you're sitting. And then slowly you begin to, whoa. Slowly you begin to rise and you come up above the building. And you're looking down at the rock. And you keep going. You begin to accelerate gently towards the stratosphere. And you can see the whole valley or Castle Rock, the whole city. And you continue the rise. Now you can see the Rockies, and you're accelerating upward. Now you can see the whole western seaboard out to the Pacific Ocean. We're on a journey, and we're continuing. Now you're so far above the earth, you can see the whole continental United States, but we're not stopping there. Moving even faster now, you begin to see past the curvature of the earth, and you're accelerating backwards, and your vision is getting bigger and broader and more expansive. And as you go, you have the entire Earth in view, and you begin to accelerate past the moon. Speeding up now, you're zooming out of our solar system. You can see the planets. That which used to be so big now seems small. Your vision has gone to a higher realm. Now you're moving even more quickly. You're accelerating to the speed of light. You can now start to see the spiral arm of the Milky Way galaxy. Whoa, moving even faster now. You begin to see clusters of galaxies. And you've even gone so far, now you can see the entirety of the universe. Now look at the dot in your hand. That is the universe in the hand of God. God doesn't live somewhere in the universe. The universe lives somewhere in God. We have earth, we have heaven, but there's another realm. So before God spoke the universe into existence, there was the realm of family. Father, loving Son. Whoa. Son, loving Spirit. Spirit, loving Father. And within that family, there was the perfection of love permeating and flowing from Father to Son, to Spirit to Father, Father to Son, to Spirit to Father, Father to Son, to Spirit to Father. And the manifestation of what that looks like, Father, Son, Spirit, Father, is sons and daughters. The universe was created as a framework for us to get to know our Father and our family. So before that even existed, back in the beginning, that love was always designed to include the bride. Father the Son, Son the bride, bride the Spirit, Spirit the Father. And when He created earth as a framework for our existence, and He placed Adam and Eve in the garden, we were created, even as Scott said, in the breath of God. We were created in face-to-face encounter. And even as a moment ago I locked eyes with Papa Leif, and I could see the shimmer of the Father in his eyes. That's where we were created in the very beginning. So we could see our Papa's face. We could hear His voice. We could feel His love, experience His presence, and live in His pleasure. That's why Leif says we're going back to the future. So close your eyes again. Say, Papa,
Papa,
can I look into your eyes? Papa,
Papa,
can you look into my eyes?
into my eyes.
Oh. Papa, can I hear your voice? Papa, can I feel your love? Whoa. And Papa's presence is a place of safety and security and protection and infinite love. So having this connection where we see him, we gain his perspective. That gaze in his eyes causes our mind to transform, to think how he thinks. To feel how he feels. And then we, just as Papa Leif, become the very essence of the encounter. And then within our guts, within our very being, the language of the Father is born. And we begin to speak the language of the heavenly family on the earth.
I'm just sensing that connected to what Dave is doing here, just John 17:26 is becoming very clear. And it is Jesus is actually right now seated with the Father, and he's praying for each one of us. John 17:26, and he says, Father, I have declared your name among them, and I will declare it. That the very love, Papa, this very love that you have towards me, the very love that I've experienced since eternity past, that very love, that love is going to be in each one of them, and I in them. That means Christ within us, that is the hope of glory. So Father, I just thank you that your prayer right now, Jesus, as you're seated there with Papa and the Holy Spirit, and each one of us is just longing for that. It's the connection to that love, that perfect love between the Father and the Son and the Father. But it's perfect love that Jesus experienced. That's his biggest desire tonight, is for us experiencing that love. And he's praying that prayer with a purpose that is going to be answered. And the Holy Spirit, whoa, right now, come Holy Spirit. So Father, we just thank you that you're taking us back into the future. And it's connected what Dave also was doing here. I received a picture on my phone right before where I saw my little son when he was about this age, and my daughter Lila. Going to be the first day of school. I just got a picture on my phone that came back. And I remember both of my kids, this was before it was disappointments in their life. That was before Daddy broke his neck about a lot of the different issues that we had gone through. It was that innocence, and he just took me back to those kids at that moment. And I'm sensing also what he's going to do now for us. And for some of you say, well, I don't even know where that place of innocence was. We're going to take you further back, and that's what David also is going to take you to a place. There was a place that was totally innocence, where you could see his face. There was a place where you were. And we're going to take you back again to that place for a moment. So, Father, I just want to release, even as we looked at Christian, the childlikeness. Jesus says, if you want to know the kingdom, look at one of those little children. Whoa. Father, now in each one of us, even as we're resting in this, when it has stopped being fun. Father, just take us back to that. Let a child, I didn't say childishness, but a childlikeness that is in each one of us. For some, it is in your mother's womb. For some, it is before, like Psalm 139. He knew you before you were in your mother's womb. Well, for some, we're going to go even further back to the place in the beginning. There you are. That's who you are. That's the truth. That's the real you. Total innocence, totally purity, totally loved, totally accepted by your Father. That was the place. When you looked at your Father, the Father's looking at you. You have such a big yes. That look changes everything. Wow. Deeper. Deep. At that moment, you stop trying to become what you already are. At that moment, you will stop to try to become what you already are. And in that moment, wow, you are in glory. You are you. And you are, wrapped in glory. Whoa. What is taking place? Rooted and grounded in love.
Somebody gave me this tonight. Beautiful lady right there in the second row just gave me this tonight. And I told the story about my 20-year-old son. And when I married my wife, he was 4. She had him before I met her. And he says he chose me. That's why we got married. And when he was 6, it took 2 years, but when he was 6, we went to the courthouse, and there was an adoption that took place. And I talked about adoption yesterday if you weren't here, but how adoption is legally binding. And in Roman law, which is what Jesus and Paul both talk about in the Bible when they talk about adoption, in Roman law, the idea of adoption was the person that got adopted lost completely their old identity. Lost completely everything that came with that, lost the rights to their old family, the wrongs of their old family. They lost all of the debt that they owed, all the obligations they had as the old person. It was completely wiped out, blotted out, completely gone, never to be seen again, could not be found in records. They became a brand new person. They got a new name, and with that, they got a new identity, and it was part of a new family. And they were to be recognized and talked to and approached as that new person. You could no longer approach them as the old person. Along with that, they got all of the rights of the new family. All the benefits of the new family, the bank account of the new family, and they stepped straight into inheritance right there on the spot. Not an inheritance that they got when someone above them passed, but an inheritance that was living and active right there on the spot. And they got to begin to walk in their inheritance. And I felt like tonight, like Leif is saying, going back to the beginning, I want us to all go back to that day that we said yes. Whoa. There was music on that day. That day that we all said yes. There was a powerful day. The thing that was fun about when I adopted my son, Oren, is the judge talked straight to him, a 6-year-old, and asked him, is this what you want? He got to say yes. You got to say yes that day. You weren't forced into this relationship. It was your choice. And then the judge said, what do you want your name to be? And he said, Oren Jesse Scott Thompson. And that's his legal name now. And then the judge handed this gavel to him. And he got to walk up there. And he got to take this and he got to hit it on the judge's bench. And he didn't just hit it once like you see a judge would do. He was a young boy, so he just kept hitting it until the judge said, okay, it's done, it's done. But I think he wanted to keep the gavel. And tonight I wanted to take you back to that place that you said yes. Mm-hmm. It was an innocent place. It was a place where you came in with all your bags. Maybe you were just a young child. That's fine. Let's go back there. You came in with all your bags. You came in with all the rights and obligations and debts. Mm-hmm. And you said yes to Jesus. And he said a resounding yes back to you. And in that courthouse when I adopted my son, the entire family was there. And they were ready to party. We had party hats. We had party blower things, that do the whatever. We had confetti. They gave us permission to make a mess in that courthouse because the procedure was the first few minutes of it, but the party was the next hour. And we had a party in that courthouse. And heaven knew it, and we knew it, and everyone knew it. My son went from being a boy without a father to being part of a family, and he had a father. And this was the sound that started the party, right here. It wasn't once, because he was a young boy and he was excited. And I could hear heaven echoing the gavel right back. I could hear the Father and the Son had the gavel in his hand in heaven, and he was just partying with Oren, and it started a party. So I want you to hear this one more time from that place that you said yes to Jesus. Because we're going back to the future. We're going back to why it started and where it started and when it started. And I want you to hear this because I think some of you never heard this sound when you said yes. And you need to hear this sound because this sound is the beginning. See, when you said yes, you didn't enter into a relationship of saying no the rest of your life. It was one big yes that started it. It's one big yes you get to live in. And in that yes, there was a party that started, but it started with this sound. So I want you to hear this over your life. You said yes, and it started a party in your life. Are you ready for the party to start? Okay, here's the sound of the party starting in your life. And with that sound, heaven said, it is finished, it is done, and a new book started in your life.
True.
It's a reason to be excited. We don't mourn the death of the old that passed away on that day. We celebrate the life of the brand new that happened. I said it before. If your Christian walk is boring, it's not because Jesus is boring, it's because you're boring. When you said yes, you stepped into a free fall. You jumped out of the plane without a chute, saying, God, here I am, catch me. You stepped into the most exciting life there ever was. The original meaning of life is what you stepped into. You stepped into the extreme. You stepped into the exciting. You stepped into a life of fire and wind and oil. You stepped into a life of wine. Right? I saw a picture when we started. Leif was talking about fire and oil and wind and wine and all this, and I used to be a wildland firefighter. And so we would go to the crazy wild fires in the mountains. I know you guys get fires around here. And actually, I fought fires right next to crews from Colorado and Wyoming and all over the place. But the last fire I was on, it was the fire that got me saved, the fire that wore me out. Finally, I hit the bottom. But on that fire, it was the craziest fire I'd ever been to. I have pictures of me standing in front of flame lengths that are 240, 250 feet tall flames. Sure. Standing in front of saying, take the picture, standing next to a friend of mine. But the cool thing about this fire is one of the things about this fire was it was started by an arson. It was a person, a pyromaniac, started this fire. The thing about fires is they need an accelerant in order to start. And they start with some sort of spark. And this fire started with a spark and an accelerant. This man used gasoline, and he used a lighter. And he started this fire, and this fire grew so big, and it grew so out of control. The conditions were perfect for this fire to be the craziest fire. They called it a perfect fire. And as this fire grew and grew and grew, see, fire needs oxygen in order to burn. And so this fire was growing so fast that it was sucking in oxygen from all around it, and it created its own wind. because of it needed oxygen. It was sucking oxygen in. It was pulling oxygen so fast the fire created its own wind, and the wind actually started to drive the fire. So it was creating its own wind. And then the plume of the fire went so high in the sky that it broke through, there's a 30,000-foot barrier up there. There's a ceiling up there. And we had a 30,000-foot ceiling at the time during this fire. And it broke through, and it went into the freezing atmosphere up there. And the plume of the fire and all the moisture that came out of the fire started to roll over and freeze and created thunderheads, created its own thunderheads out of the plume of the fire, not out of a natural weather system, but out of the plume of the fire and the driving wind, created its own thunderheads and electricity. And the thunderheads started to go out ahead of the fire and started a dry lightning strike the ground in front of the fire. This fire was moving at such a pace, it created its own weather system. There were no storms in the forecast, but now there was a dry lightning storm out in front of this fire. It was taking up embers from the fire, and it was casting them miles away, 4, 5, 6, 8, 10 miles away. Spot fires started to break out. And as firefighters, we just had to get out of the way and watch this thing burn. I remember there was a point where we were 1.5 miles out in front of the fire. And we were just trying to redirect the fire the best we could. And we started cutting trees, and we went down into this green bottom where there was a creek, and everything was lush and green. And over the next hour, I watched as everything that was lush and green started to dry up and wither and wilt, and the leaves started to fall from the trees, and everything was drying up. The fire wasn't there, but the fire was preparing the fuel in front of it to burn. The green leaves and the green trees were drying out and preparing to burn because there was a fire coming and it wanted fuel.
Whoa.
I saw a picture of this gathering tonight. And I saw sons and daughters. And I saw an accelerant of oil. The intimacy. The love. And I saw the spark, the flame, the passion of that love. And I saw it light up, and I saw the wind. The love and the passion started to create a wind that drove it. And the plume from the fire went up into the atmosphere, and it went so high up, it started to create its own weather system. See, alone, you're just a spark. Alone, you're just an ember. But together as a family, a kingdom family, a family of families. When we go out of here, the plume starts to rise and the embers start to get thrown 4, 5, 6, 8 miles out of here. We start to create our own weather system because no longer are we just burning ones on our own, but we're burning ones as a family of families going back to our own churches and our own cities, and the fire and the embers are thrown out of here. And pretty soon, the fuel in front of you, see, we want cities. We want nations. Well, guess how that happens? It's a family that learns how to burn with passion and love, and the accelerant of his oil, and the intimacy and the pleasure of the wine. It's not an angry fire. This fire I was on, it was so angry. It's not an angry fire. It's a fire that's birthed from a place of pleasure with the Father. And it goes out of here and it creates its own weather system, and it prepares cities and it prepares nations to burn with love and passion. It prepares them beforehand because there's a fire coming. I can feel it in my bones. There's a fire coming. I've been drying out while I'm here. I can feel it.
Yeah.
JR told me, keep drinking water, man. Last night he said, I feel like I need to talk to you like dad. Here, drink some water.
Whoa.
And then give me water. Why? There's a fire, and it's stirring, and it's preparing people's hearts to burn. Even the least likely of those are being prepared to burn. I guarantee you, if I would have made it through high school long enough, I got kicked out of high school for selling drugs. If I would have made it long enough, I would have made it in the yearbook as least likely to succeed. The least likely. My friends see me as a pastor, and it blows their minds. That's why most of them gotten saved, because they're like, there must be a God. No, honestly, it sounds like a joke, but that's honesty right there. There must be a God, because there's no possible way. I'm telling you, the least likely, the ones that aren't even on your radar because you're like, your family, your friends, the stores, the shops, and the restaurants, and the malls, and the schools, and the government offices, and the newsrooms. God's preparing them. He sees his family, and as his family starts to rise up together, and the embers and the coals and the flames and the wind and the weather system starts to create, I'm telling you, cities will be prepared for the love and the passion and the pleasure, the oil, the fire, the wind, the wine will begin to pour out on your city because Kingdom Family chose to rise up as Kingdom Family. That's what I saw released tonight. I saw a family start to rise up. Arise, shine, for your light has come. Our Father is called an all-consuming fire. So what is it that you have inside of you? You're made in His image. There must be some flames in you.
So, what we're going to do is we're all going to, we're going to stand up. We're going to just stand together. Whoa. We're just going to have whoa. This is just an environment where you're just going to receive it. We're not going to help God in it. He's very good at it. Whoa. He's a good, good Father. It is who He is. And you're loved by Him. That's who you are. And you're going to be rooted and grounded in that love. Every moment, you're going to know how good He is. And every moment of your life, you're going to know how loved you are. And in the middle, when this thing starts to take place, whoa, the wind is going to come in. So just let us just entering in into the ocean of love. We're about to be drowned in perfect love. The love that takes away all fear. Whoa!